Whether you're a brand new collector or a veteran one, we can all agree that collecting in any category can be time-consuming and financially draining at times. The aftermarket, as I like to call it, may be a joy to be able to find ways to get older stuff you may have missed out on, whether on purpose or just wasn't your time yet. But it can be filled with stress, woes, and all else a thrill to be on the chase for that piece you're missing. I've been on the scene for quite some time now, so I find it timely to give to you, at least for the moment, my tips on how to survive in collecting within the aftermarket. The aftermarket can mean a lot of places. eBay, swap meets, thrift stores, convention booths, you name it, and it would fall into this category. Pushing away the hardcore resellers for a second, these are normally the best starting points to find those hard to find items you just won't find out there in any nearby store. The first disadvantage you'll see here is the lack of price controls. Unlike your traditional outlets, which are at least holding on to a standard MSRP or manufacturer suggested retail price, out here it's the wild wild west. Even by the time secondhand store and an actual human reseller get their hand on it, the price remains in their control. Sometimes you can get lucky and get a good deal, but most times expect a few feints when you're looking at these prices. It can be insane looking at a used to be $60 video game now going for hundreds of dollars. You just never know where those prices can end up. Which leads me to my first tip. If you can, buy a new. I say that very lightly, of course, being aware of the current economic environment we all live in. It can be very hard to budget for non-essentials, even for collecting. However, I find it to be more or less the safer bet. Take this Blue Beetle steelbook that I have. Originally, I saw this on Best Buy for $40. Now on eBay, good luck even trying to find it for $50. I ended up spending nearly $75 for this one. My reasoning was to save money on the delivery fee and just wait for store pickup, but it never came to be, so I ended up having to bite the cost on this one. It may suck at the moment, but you just can't predict the allocation, as well as the supply and demand, and even the overall trend for an item until long after it's gone. My thinking mindset was to try everything I could to save money on delivery. However, if you really think about it, you always have to add in the cost of transportation no matter how you ride it. Walking to your pickup, it's costing you time to go do other things. Taking the bus, you're paying the fare. Driving there, gas and time will eat you up. In a way, everything balances out when it comes to physical pickup. Back when I just started gaining income of my own, I would always hold off on online pre-orders and just go straight to hunting them down or trying to physically reserve them in person. Sometimes they don't come in, or the scalpers beat you to the punch, or even they just won't even take the physical reservation in my experience. The pandemic changed a lot when it came to this, since unless you were already out for essential shopping, casual buying was a thing of the past. Point being is that the gates were opening up to start accepting online platforms as a valid way to grow your collection, albeit with some risk, of course. The common thing for me is to always keep an eye out for fakes in the aftermarket, particularly with Funko Pops. My second tip would be always research and analyze all known pictures. This is my common practice when it comes to buying on eBay. While I'm very happy with everything I gained from the platform, sometimes it would be extensive looking just before I bid on an item. I once spent 20 minutes looking at one Funko just to make sure it was legit. Anytime that you see the generic announcement photo by itself, I immediately shoot it down to the bottom of the list. It's also not against the platform for you to ask any of them to request for more detailed photos. For the seller, they still have to work to make the sale, and it'll speak volumes if they reject or ignore your requests. Reviews of the seller are great to vet out scammers and find the real deals. Keep in mind that no matter how much time you spend on a page, it'll never be fully cleared until you receive it in the mail and see it with your own bare eyes. I still find that tactic useful when it comes to my DVDs. Out of my main collectible lines, that's the one I hold off the most on online resale platforms, and instead just wait till I go to a local or lower shop to get them in my hands. My used to go-to store back pre-pandemic was FYE. The prices may not be kind at times, but it was especially nice to see older stocks on the shelves. Nowadays, I travel to the city to go to Book Off, which honestly is the most fair store I've been to, with a large selection of almost everything. You're bound to find something in good shape and good price. A lot of the additions on the TV space came from that store, but sometimes there is a ceiling to one spot. The more you go, the less new things you see. The thrill of the hunt is awesome, but at the same time, knowing how far you're willing to go is another conversation in itself. My third tip would be, funny enough, is let the deal come to you. I've only learned this one recently last year as conventions have slowly become a big part of my life. There are vendors, storefronts, and even other collectors that come to these mutual areas to sell for the masses. While at the same point as I mentioned on the prices, it can be difficult to get some of the hard to find ones for a lower price. Take the Super Saiyan God Goku. Came out long before I started collecting, and the price for this was the highest I ever paid for a Funko Pop at $50. I tried going for one at $45, but it was long gone by the time I came back. My father always said this piece of advice, and I'll say it to you. If you find something you like, buy it right away. There's no guarantee you'll be there later. A risky tactic would be to take the last day, most times Sunday slot for a convention. That way the vendors would be more open to taking a lower pay, but to move some inventory. It'll actually save them some money to bring it back to their homes. All of this at the end of the day is a business, especially when it comes to money. They have to crunch the numbers as much as you have to crunch the numbers. My last tip that I think would be crucial to check in the aftermarket is the budgeting aspect of it, which can be tedious, but it will help you out down the road. Having a general and specific budget is usable to know what your max total is to drop on a haul and specifically what your limits are for certain items. For Funko Pops, for me, I keep it at a flat 20 before shipping. Steelbooks, I try not to go over $50. And DVD, it just depends what it is. TV shows would be no more than 10 to 15 bucks. Movies are flat at $5. If you know these areas, then you know I'm pricing myself below average levels. But that is helpful for me to keep myself in check. If I was to do so, I could get everything I want today and be done with it. But I would potentially be hurting myself in the long run when it comes to my financial stability, as well as lose out on potential savings down the road. Plus, it takes away from the fun of getting these pieces and filling out that empty space on the shelf, the wall, or the special place in the room. Having a complete collection may seem like the biggest accomplishment, which it is, but why not try to work on that and save the most amount possible? If I was to do the math on any of my steelbooks or DVDs, for instance, I'm 100% certain I would be below MSRP combined for all of them versus what I spent on them. I still have much more time in the aftermarkets left in me, and I hope my words were helpful either in the beginning of your journey or in the middle just like me. Let me know down below if you have any tips of your own. I would love to hear them. This has been Joe here from the Collection Compass. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.